Hey everyone, quick question for you. Take a look at your phone, or even just the shoes on your feet. Any idea where they came from? Chances are the answer isn't just one place. It's probably all over the world. And that, right there, is because of the huge topic we're going to dive into today: globalization. So, let's get into it. All right, here's what we've got on deck. First, we're going to figure out what globalization even means. Then, we'll break it down into its three big pieces: the economic, the social, and the political connections. And then, at the end, we'll do a quick summary and check in to make sure it all makes sense. So, this is the big question I want you to keep in the back of your mind through this whole thing. To what extent does globalization really influence your life? I think you're going to be surprised at just how much it does. And you know what? You don't have to look very far for an answer. Seriously. The t-shirt you're wearing right now, it basically tells the entire story. It's the perfect place to start unpacking this huge idea. Okay, so what is the official definition? Well, here it is. Globalization is a process that's making all of us, the world's citizens, more and more connected and interdependent. Now, those two words are super important here. Connected just means we can interact with people all over the world way more easily. And interdependent, that means we rely on each other more than we ever have before. You know, the easiest way to wrap your head around a huge idea like this is to break it into smaller pieces. So think of globalization as having three main parts, or dimensions, that all kind of overlap and work together. We've got the economic part, the social part, and the political part. We're going to tackle them one by one, and we'll start with the one you probably run into every single day. All right, first up, the economic connection. This is all about the money, the trade, and your wallet, how the stuff we buy links us to the entire globe. Okay, picture this. It's a typical Saturday. You're out and about. Maybe you find some cool earrings at a boutique, you grab a new pair of jeans from Walmart, and you get a burger from Wendy's. Seems normal, right? But in just that one trip, you've probably interacted with products that came from Nepal, the US, and a dozen other places. That right there is economic globalization happening in real time. And a good reason this is even possible is because of something called a transnational corporation. Yeah, it sounds kind of fancy, but all it really means is a company that operates in at least two different countries. You know these guys? We're talking about giants like Walmart, Wendy's, Nike, Apple, you name it. They're designing stuff in one place, making it in another, and selling it pretty much everywhere. So why is all this global trade happening on such a massive scale right now? Well, it boils down to a few key things. First off, those big transnational companies have gotten super powerful. Second, it's just way, way cheaper and safer now to ship stuff across oceans or fly it around the world. And finally, a lot of governments have relaxed their rules and taxes on things coming in from other countries, which makes it a lot easier for companies to trade freely. But here's the thing, it's not all super simple. There are definitely two sides to this coin. On one hand, for a lot of us, it means we can buy cheaper clothes, shoes, and TVs. It also creates brand new jobs for people in developing countries. But on the other hand, it's meant that some manufacturing jobs have left wealthier countries. And some people argue that big companies just move around looking for the place where they can pay workers the least. The bottom line, it's complicated. Okay, so that's the money side of things. Now let's shift gears to our second dimension, the social connection. This one is all about culture, media, and ideas, and how they travel around the world and actually shape our identities. And this part has a really interesting paradox at its heart. What's a paradox? It's basically an idea that sounds like it contradicts itself, but it's still true. And the paradox here is that because of social globalization, the world is becoming more the same and more diverse at the exact same time. Kind of weird, right? How is that even possible? Okay, let's break it down. So on one side, you have this trend that some people call Americanization. You know, the show Friends is broadcast in over 100 countries. You can buy a Diet Coke almost anywhere on Earth. The NBA is huge in China. But then, at the very same time, we have access to more cultural diversity than any human beings in history. Right now, you can pull up your phone and watch Bollywood movies from India, listen to Swedish hip-hop, or follow your favorite Congolese football stars. See? More the same and more diverse. And what's the engine driving all of this? I mean, you know what it is. It's technology. It's the phone in your pocket, it's social media, it's streaming services. They connect us instantly to people, trends, and ideas from literally anywhere. The music you stream, the shows you binge watch, even some of the slang you use, it's all part of this massive social connection. All right, We've done economic, we've done social. Let's hit our third and final dimension, the political connection. This is all about how countries and their governments deal with each other on the world stage. So, the big idea here is pretty simple. In today's world, countries don't just exist in their own little bubble. Nope. The decisions a government makes about, say, environmental rules or trade are often influenced by pressure from other nations and by the big international agreements they've signed. And you see this playing out all the time in the news, right? A huge natural disaster hits one country, and nations from all over the world jump in to send aid. Countries get together to sign huge international treaties to tackle global problems like climate change. And they belong to big organizations like the United Nations or the G8 or NATO, all to work together. That's political globalization in action. Okay, that was a lot, I know. So let's pause and do a quick recap of the most important stuff we just covered. So what are the absolute key takeaways? Number one, globalization is what makes us more connected and interdependent. Easy. And it has those three main parts. Economic, that's about the global trade of goods and services. Social, that's the spread of culture, media, and ideas. And political, that's all about how governments work with and influence each other. Got it? All right, time for a quick knowledge check. First one, I want you to think about your life, like what you did today. Can you give me one specific example of how economic globalization affects you personally? It could be anything, the food you ate, the game you played, the phone you're probably holding. And last question, number two. Can you explain that paradox of social globalization we talked about? In your own words, how is it possible for the world to become more similar and more diverse at the same time? Awesome. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully this helps you see just how connected our world really is.